I'm JX. This is JB. So we're here to kind of share a little bit about our experience in Thailand.
Yes.
Jamie has been in Thailand for almost 8 years. I've been here for about 4. So tell me a little bit about like.
Cool.
Tell the audience a little bit about like how you got started in Thailand.
Yeah, so I mean, my story actually it's weird, right? Because my relationship with Thailand goes back quite a long time. I grew up in the UK, like obviously from my accent and stuff. I studied there for university, but like while I was growing up there, I came to Thailand on holiday quite a few times. So like actually my uncle, my mum's brother lives here, and he's lived here for like his whole life almost. Like he also came here when he was like 20 something, and it just like has stayed here. So I mean, it'd be cool. Maybe we can get him like on the.
Let's
on
get
the
some
pod.
oldies
Yeah.
in here.
It's like, I mean, his experience is like almost his whole life, right? Being here. So I've always had like a connection to Thailand from an early age. Like we'd come and visit him just for holiday for like a couple of weeks or something. You know, it's like basically, you know, like families in the UK, they go on holiday like once a year. You know, most people go to Spain, and like we would just go to Thailand, right? But
favorite country.
it wasn't like
the Brits.
Yeah,
Spain,
Spain, and like Ibiza, you know, like
Ibiza,
well, not even that, like Mallorca. Or something.
Mostly Mallorca,
Yeah, Mallorca.
because it's cheap.
Ibiza's more like when you're sort of like late teens, like want to go for a party, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we would come here, like, but it wasn't a lot, like probably between like growing up in high school like 3 times or something. Then I ended up, so basically I studied in the UK at a university there. I ended up getting the opportunity to do like an exchange semester, basically. So like, it was just part of the program. I studied business, which is like probably the most useless qualification of all of them. But yeah, like I got that opportunity, and one of the exchange partners of the school was Thailand. It was Chulalongkorn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for people that don't know, there's basically like 2 or 3 like main university institutions. I mean, there's tons of schools here, but the ones that people mostly know are like Chula, Thammasat, and then maybe a couple of others, like Kasetsat and stuff.
Well, I think for those who don't know, saying that you're from Chulalongkorn in Thailand, when you say it, people go like, whoa, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I think only the top 3 to 5% of students actually get into Chula.
It's pretty hard to get in. Like they have like their own entrance exam and stuff. Like as an exchange student, it's quite good because you don't have to do it.
Okay.
They
just get in.
I mean, it's cool the way it works, right? Because they just partner with universities and they say like, oh, we'll take 10 students from your school and you take 10 students from our school every year. Like that's how it works.
So it's a good deal
you
for
just
them
swap
as well.
basically students.
Okay.
But yeah, that was like an incredible experience. We can go more into that as well, like because I ended up being here for 2 semesters actually, so a whole year. So I studied here for a whole year of my degree. That was BBA, Business Administration, but it was like an international program, so it was all taught in English.
Okay.
But yeah, met like so many people from all over the world, like also coming here to do exchange. So that was my first Thailand exposure of like living here.
Yeah, I think having known you for some time, I think both of us have a very unique perspective because we don't work for ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, at least I don't. I work for a company right now, and I met Jamie through that company.
Yeah.
And Jamie currently works for himself.
But
I
like
think
before, like majority of my Thailand experience is working for a company, same as you. Yeah.
But
like,
that is extremely uncommon.
Yes,
I would say,
extremely uncommon.
for foreigners.
Yes.
I think most foreigners, especially from a Western country, or even Singapore, for example.
Yeah.
Singapore, Malaysia, anybody. Most of them do not work for a company.
No.
Most of them do not have like
they're like digital
non-visa.
nomads or
They're mostly digital
Actually, it's
nomads.
mostly only digital nomads, I would say.
I would say it's highly uncommon because there's only like a few companies like Apps Flyer, Agoda, and we are not even in those kind of like foreign company categories. We specifically work in a local company,
like a Thai company. I mean, like the story of how that came about is pretty interesting as well, right? Like, so I studied here. I went back to the UK after the year. I finished up my degree. I did a couple of internships back in the UK, and then I ended up basically like while I was out here, I met a bunch of people that were also working here. And I was like, wow, that's crazy because I never even thought about working here. It's just like only through other foreigners that I met.
So at the time, you're just like, okay, let's try Thailand as a student?
Yeah, I was just like coming to study here because I still had a year left back in the UK after. So it was like, it was just here for a year. Like, I mean, I could have gone anywhere in the world, but I chose Thailand because like, I just wanted to go somewhere totally different, like that to have that experience, like rather than going to the US or somewhere else in Europe, just like somewhere totally crazy and totally different, right? So yeah, but then I met a bunch of people while I was here that are like doing internships and working here and stuff. It was quite common at the time for foreigners to be able to do internships here.
Right.
So a lot of companies, like more Western-oriented companies, like say Western brands that operate here, or startups that are run by Western people, they would hire like foreigner interns basically because you could come and do an internship here for 3 months, 6 months, get paid a little bit, and you know you have your visa sorted and stuff like that. So yeah, like I met a bunch of people, got some connections, knew about the company that I started working for, which ended up being within the Rabbit group of companies, right? So like if anybody's living here, they'll know Rabbit from Rabbit Card, basically. It's like, but like sort of within that group of companies, there's like multiple different companies underneath Rabbit. So I ended up going to do an internship initially. I came here to do an internship within the company that is Rabbit Finance now, or like they just changed the name to Rabbit Care.
Right.
But yeah, that's how I got started, and then that's how we ended up basically going and ended up working in BTS Group, right? Because Rabbit is owned by BTS, so like I worked for Rabbit for a couple of years, then ended up sort of like moving within the group to be at VGI, right? Which is the media company. So it's like long story, but that's basically like my story. Like ended up working there for like 5 years in total across like Rabbit and VGI and everything. Yeah.
Was it difficult for you then to kind of like get the internship at the start, I guess? Because I think that's a question that a lot of people ask me sometimes. That like
the first job,
especially right? I think like I've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
And many Singaporeans actually ask me like, hey JX, I would love to move to Thailand. Can you find me a job? and no. Well, the very unfortunate thing that usually I tell them is that if your Thai language level is not good enough, usually it's really difficult.
Yeah.
For you and me, we were lucky.
Yeah.
Or with me, less. I was way luckier than you, I guess. But I think like a lot of it for me, I would say that connection is really important.
Yeah.
Even if you can speak the language, doesn't necessarily mean you get the job, especially if you want to get paid to a certain level.
Yeah.
But for you, how did it kind of like happen?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I think back then was a little bit of a different time as well. Like
before COVID.
Yeah. We're talking like now, like 7-8 years ago.
Okay, so way before.
This was like 2014, 2015 sort of time.
Okay.
And like back then, there was a lot more foreigners working here in companies. We just talked about this earlier. Like there was a big skills gap in Thailand still, where like people that had like gone to study in the West, for example, they hadn't finished their studies yet, and there was this big demand for foreigners to bring like this Western ideology of like building companies and running companies, at least in some spaces, right? And at the time, like this internship I did was much more like in a startup, so the total company size was like 30 people or something. So I would say back then there was more opportunities than what there is now, because now you have this whole generation of Thai people that have gone to study abroad and brought back those like Western ideologies that can get those jobs and do those jobs. There's no skills gap anymore. Like there's a lot of Thai people that are technical, that can write code, that have had experience in like Uber and like these crazy big companies now. That when I first came here, it wasn't like that at all. There was very few Thai people working in Thailand that had experience from like Silicon Valley or London or like or Singapore.
So they would have worked in, let's say, San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Yeah. And after like 5-6 years, their funds started to come back.
Right. Exactly.
And they kind of brought this experience back.
Exactly. That's basically what happened now. That's why now it's much more difficult to get a job here versus if it was like 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago there was a big skills gap. Now there's still quite a big skills gap in engineering, so like coding, but that's closing as well, and like for sure. Yeah.
I think if you're looking at a lot of the local companies such as True, they have huge teams of coders and engineers and developers. It's actually quite amazing what the kind of like projects that they're doing.
Yeah,
they do a lot of tech projects.
100%.
Okay,
so I didn't even answer your question, but
Yeah.
like the way that I first got that internship is like I said, so it's the connection thing again, because I'd heard about the company from meeting people when I was studying here.
Right.
So I met a couple of people that were doing internships at Rabbit Finance. When I was here studying, we were living in the same condo building, basically. And there used to be this area at the underneath the condo where you just go and have dinner and drink, basically. Like at the time, you know, it's like partying and young and everything. So yeah, I just met them, and then I just decided when I was back in the UK to like look up the company and see, you know, if they had any internships going on. And they did. So I reached out. I was like, hey, you know, I'd lived there for a year studying. I don't really know what I want to do next with my career. But would you be up for, you know,
very enticing.
doing
no, but that's okay when you're like 20.
With an internship, I think it's totally fine, right? Because you're like, well, I'm just exploring stuff. Would you be up for, you know, giving me an internship? Had a couple of interviews with the guys that were running it.
Yeah.
And they were like, sure, like come out and do like a business development internship, right? So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like I had some other opportunities of maybe like staying in the UK and doing stuff in the UK, right? But I was like, I mean, what's to lose, right? I go here, even if I just stay for 6 months and do the internship, it's still a crazy cool experience,
and
right?
Suddenly it's been 7-8 years.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, you know, like I did the internship for 6 months, it went well, then they offered me a full-time job, and I was like, well, yeah, for sure, I'm gonna keep staying here, and then one thing leads to the next, and then you just end up like here for like 5-6 years, right?
Yeah, I think
that's my experience at least.
I think that happened to me kind of a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I moved to Thailand for one job. That job didn't turn out so well. Again,
but
through
we met
connections.
through that job.
Yeah,
right?
we met through that job.
Yeah.
Jamie was very kind. I said, hey Jamie, I didn't say I didn't want to do with my life.
Give me a job.
But I said that like, hey, like I'm on the lookout. Give me a job. And
Yeah,
Jamie's like, all right, I'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Next thing we know, we met a bunch of people. They liked me.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's been 3 years in this company. There's a lot of ups and downs, but I think so far, you know, like a lot of people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you this question a lot. It seems that every few months they ask me, Jax, do you want to stay in Thailand?
Yeah.
Because it seems that they just can't wait for us to go or something.
Yeah.
They're just always asking, like, Jax, what's your plan?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Are you going to stay? And I think I always get them the same thing, that actually like Thailand is it's a really comfortable place to stay in, provided, you know, your salary is all right.
Yeah.
I think that for, at least for me, my salary is like gives me a very comfortable lifestyle. But you know, Bangkok is getting way more expensive recently.
Yeah, for sure.
But there are a lot of kind of creature comforts that you kind of just don't get.
Yeah.
In the UK
in the West,
or even Singapore.
Yeah.
Because like what you could spend for a night out here, maybe I would spend maybe 100, 200 US.
Yeah.
And that's a good night out.
Yeah.
We're gonna hang out with the boys. We're gonna have a good time. Go to a decent club. But if you do that in Singapore, you know, it's gonna cost you 6 times, 7 times. In the UK, it's even worse. Because it's
for sure.
Because in Singapore, like I met a lot of like British guys who came to Singapore and they love it. They love Grab because like there's no such thing as Grab. There's Uber. That's expensive as hell. They love like this cheap food because they told me that when I eat in the UK, pay £8, get a sandwich. And they said like here, 3-4 Singapore dollars, hot meal. And I don't know if that's the case for a lot of people from the UK or from the West, that like they don't realize that this is what I could have. That like it's a little bit different or maybe even better.
I mean, like what I've seen, it's quite interesting, right? Like while I was here, like living for 5-6 years working and stuff, like you see a lot of people come and go as well. So I mean, there's a lot of Bangkok's, especially in the expat community, I think like actually there is quite a big expat community of people working here. They just don't like publish stuff on YouTube, and like there is a lot of foreigners working in companies.
There are a lot of good Christian boys and girls.
Yeah, like
they are
like
not
well behaved.
Because
and, you know,
okay, yeah. So yeah, please finish. Yeah.
No, I was just saying that like I've known like there tends to be like two categories of people, I would say. Like the first category is like they intend to stay here for a couple of years and get the experience in terms of the life experience, right? Like because I think like it's not necessarily renowned for being like you're going to get the best career experience here, which is not necessarily true. But I think the perception from outside is that you're here to like live a good life rather than like advance your career. That might be changing now, though. That might be changing now. So there's that category of people, and then there's the category of people that basically just end up like being in love with the place and like you just can't leave.
Yeah.
Right?
So
and you just decide that you're going to stay here for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, I think Thailand, especially I think for people who've not been here much or kind of experienced things much. I have a lot of Indian friends, and within like Indian community, when people say that, when the boys say that, oh, we're going to Thailand, immediately they think
like
sex,
Soy 11,
Nana Plaza. Let's go to a bunch of like nightclubs where women take their clothes off.
Yeah.
And that's true, but I think the more time I kind of spend with a certain kind of different kind of Thai people, different kind of Thai society, you realize that is such a small, like 1%. That's like 1% of Thailand. Like the I would say that like for you and me, more of our friends are Thai than foreigners. We still have like some of them, but I would say that maybe like at this point maybe it's like 50-50 or 60% or more on the Thai side.
So, I mean, for me, it's like for me, I actually find that stuff quite embarrassing about Thailand, right? I mean, and I don't know if you have the same feeling or not, but I think as an expat that lives here and loves the country and loves the people, I feel almost sometimes sorry for them that they have to be labelled with that, right? Like it's like my fiance now, you know, when we lived in the UK for 2 years, the last 2 years, right? And it's always people's first perception from the outside when they meet somebody from Thailand. It's like, oh, you know, lady boys, or you know, sex tourism, Soy 11 parties, full moon party, you know, all of this stuff. And like you said, like it's literally like less than 0.1% of everything.
It's
like,
such a small part.
Such a small part, and the people that really live here and love the culture, and like whether it's locals or expats, like they don't want it to be involved with any of that stuff. Like
very much so.
Like I can't remember the last time. I think the last time I went to Soy 11 was probably like 7 years ago or something.
I go there often.
But Soy 11,
but I don't like it.
Soy 11's not that bad, but you have places like, you know, Pattaya or like these kind of things, or even just the touristy places, right? Not necessarily like sex tourism and that stuff, but just like Khao San Road or something.
This is really funny because I tell my Thai friends a lot that actually, because I stay in pretty nice place in Bangkok.
Yeah, it's pretty
nice. And I work in a place in a building where I almost see no foreigners. No Asian foreigners, no white foreigners, no Arabs, no Chinese. So it always kind of surprises me a little bit, because if you stay here for a little while, and you have 3 months, maybe you don't really leave the general area. I don't know if you get this, but like every time I go to Sukhumvit, sometimes I'll be like,
I hate it.
Oh my god, this is Thailand? This is
I mean, I have a lot of expat friends that live there. So I guess it's just personal preference, but whenever I go to Sukhumvit, I just feel like it's just tourists everywhere. It's just overload, right?
Well, not just tourists, it's I wouldn't say they're the worst kind, but they're not sending their best.
And I feel I don't know if you feel like this being an Asian foreigner. But I feel like this being a Farang, like a white foreigner. Like whenever I go to Sukhumvit, people look at me differently than if I'm in Siam or Sanathon or Ari or you know, if you're a white person and you go to, it's probably the same as any foreigner, to be honest.
I think it's very different.
Maybe,
because for me, I could pass off as Thai, possibly. So if I go to
if you have like a blurred vision or something.
Well, so I think that because I don't dress like a Thai.
You are not Farang.
I am clearly not
Right.
Farang. But I would say that I think that's a really interesting point because there's actually a lot of nuance to and a lot of things I can talk about for all this because I have like American friends who said that JX is great that you are Singaporean Chinese facing in Thailand because you guys get the best girls, and I would to an extent I would really agree. But this is the thing though, because like if I go to Soy 11 Sukhumvit area, they actually think I'm from China.
Right.
There's if I dress a bit more locally, and because this is not local at all.
No.
Locals dress kind of more very simple.
Yes.
T-shirt,
Yeah.
jeans,
Yeah.
black pants,
Yeah.
and you could potentially pass off as local. So if you don't kind of dress locally, then they will maybe if I dress more locally, then they'll this guy maybe he's Thai, and they will speak Thai to me. So it is kind of really different. But I guess the more touristy the place, the more default they'll be like, okay. Especially if you're a man, they'll be like, oh, you must be a tourist.
Yeah.
At the very least, a tourist.
Yeah.
I don't particularly enjoy the kind of label they put on you when you're a tourist.
Yeah.
Because they kind of I have a good friend, Thai guy as well. He says that like the Thai people who deal a lot with tourists, they can be very prejudiced.
Yeah.
Against tourists because they see the worst kind.
Yes.
And to an extent,
Which is true. I also hate tourists. I think a lot of foreigners that live here also hate tourists because it does tend to attract like a bad kind. That's not saying all of them are bad.
Specifically
right?
in Thailand. I think it's specifically in Thailand because
Yes.
as somebody from Singapore, the tourists, the kind of visitors we get in Singapore, they are slightly better in terms of like the way they
Because
behave.
it's more expensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
you get there is a kind of exclusivity in it.
Yeah, like
so.
I feel like and like Thailand, the fact that it's cheap here, or like cheap relative to Singapore or something, like it's an incredible thing if you want to live here and come here and stuff. But it can also bring those negative points where it does attract like tourists from around the world that are looking for a cheaper holiday. Right?
Definitely, you have a lot of stories. We haven't kind of discussed your stories for that, but I have a story for that. So like, as the first year I came, didn't have many friends, no Thai friends, no foreign friends. So like, I really went out a lot.
Yeah.
I went out.
Yeah.
German, English, American, African, whoever you are, I will meet you. Ask me for a beer, I will meet you for a beer. Let's go. Let's meet some people. And I was less discerning with the people I met. And I think like as time goes on, you become a lot more discerning.
Yeah.
Because you start to meet a certain kind of foreigner who just, to put it bluntly, they're just out to take advantage.
Yeah.
They especially if you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
Because those guys do not speak Thai.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
So they're just like, as long as you're a foreigner, they will try to borrow money from you. They try to get you to do a favor for them somehow. And usually they can't kind of like give back whatever they kind of borrow from you either way.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And a lot of it I feel is that they have kind of like the worst mindsets and thinking that I've kind of seen. The very misogynistic, because it is true that despite that there are like a lot of very lovely foreigners that come here, they can be very nice and very respectful to people here. There are many foreigners who just see it as come to this country just to take advantage of people.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like only a Thailand thing, or if there's like bad tourists everywhere.
I think it's a cheap tourist thing.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
you've been to Bali, yes?
Yeah.
And you've seen some of those people. How do they behave?
Yeah.
I told you the story, like recently I went to Bali with a couple of female friends. And we were at Circle K buying something. And I think it was, I'm quite sure they're Australians. So what happened? Sorry. You guys, it's your people.
The Farang.
So we were there and we were getting some water and stuff. And it's two women, right? Women, not lady boys. And these guys came up to one of my female friends and asked her, "Do you have a pussy?"
Right.
After I asked her, "Hey, where are you from?" "Oh, from Thailand." Thai girls are so sweet.
Yeah.
They'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But
That's terrible.
yeah, this is like, "Do you have a pussy?" I'm like, he specifically did it when I wasn't there. Because he
Yeah.
knew these guys think they're freaking funny.
Yeah.
They think they're hilarious
Yeah.
to ask a woman that. And even if she was a ladyboy, don't ask that question.
No.
He wouldn't ask that question in his country.
Yeah.
What makes you think it's okay to ask it in another person's country?
Totally, yeah, totally.
So there are a lot of people who come to Thailand, and I don't think it is like a foreigner thing. I think it's a cheap tourist.
Yeah.
So the cheap tourists,
Yeah.
you know, they've never kind of been outside of their country,
Yeah.
so they have the kind of worst, like you said, they have the worst ideas of other people's countries.
Yeah.
Where actually, if you come to Thailand and you stay out of certain areas like Sukhumvit, you notice that there are a lot of rich Thai people.
Oh yeah, for
They
sure.
are
100%.
way more educated than me.
100%.
They have great
Yeah.
backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah.
They speak English better than me. They masters, PhD. The way they kind of look at the world is definitely different.
100%.
And
yeah.
many of them don't even think like what even you and I would think of, like, oh, Thai people think.
Yeah.
They don't even think like that.
Yeah.
They think more like our
Western.
British person
Yeah,
or
yeah,
ex-Western
yeah,
person.
for sure.
thinks.
I mean, like, I would say, like, it sounds like what we're saying is like very negative about foreigners. Like, I definitely think there's a lot of like really awesome people here for sure as well. I think like but I would say that most of them are the expats, like not
Yeah.
necessarily the tourists, right? But
So, yeah.
like I love being here so much because I feel like as an expat, it kind of attracts quite an entrepreneurial strain of person.
Mhm.
It's not everybody, like everywhere there's exceptions to the rule, but like there's a lot of foreigners here that are like really into like self-improvement and becoming better, starting businesses, you know, making money online, digital nomads, whatever. But I definitely think, and because you're both, you know, foreigners and expats living here, you it's easier to connect with them versus like if I was trying to meet more people in London or somewhere. You don't have as much in common because you're sort of just this one person in a sea.
Actually,
of,
that's the
thousands of
bad
people.
thing, because
Yeah.
like when you're here, you're not, because if you're in London, everybody's from the UK.
Yeah.
So you don't really kind of bond based on your differentness.
Yeah, totally.
But here,
yeah.
you definitely feel that there's
It's
a lot of people
so easy to connect with foreigners here.
for good.
But
and
you
for
have to be
worse.
you have to be careful, right?
Yes.
Because you want to keep your friend circle small. You only want to associate with people that are like genuine, that they're actually like here for the right reasons and trying to better themselves, and they're gonna provide value into your life as well. And I've seen it. You know, I've fallen down this rabbit hole before,
Yeah.
where you just basically you meet everybody, you want to meet everybody, you make friends with everybody. And it makes your life worse, right?
Yes.
Like, and that's then associated with like the partying and drinking and going out and everything. But if you actually look under the surface and you do a bit of digging, there's also a lot of foreigners here that are into different things around like self-improvement and working out and business and that kind of thing. But you have to seek them out, right? They're not public people, so you have to like, you know, find them.
I would say that a lot of them, they are extremely private. Like
Yes,
there,
for sure.
there are a few
Yes.
kind of expats.
They're not like us, like posting stuff on
things that we shouldn't be posting
on the internet, right?
Well, the thing is that there's at least a couple in my office, right? That are they are Falang, they are foreigners, and they are like 100% family men.
Yes.
They've been here for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
They work a very high position in
Yeah.
the company. They are the C levels. They are the high level directors. They speak Thai perfectly. They have a Thai wife. Thai kids go to a private Thai school.
Right.
And if you kind of get to know these people, the thing is that they are just by themselves, they are good people.
Yes.
So the thing is that good people don't seek out, actively seek out other people, because they're very established.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that to a certain extent, it could be even for me.
Yeah.
My first year, probably yours as well.
Yeah.
You really went out to kind of meet.
Yeah,
other
for
people.
sure, 100%. Yeah.
And as time went on, you find your crew, you find the people that you like. Then it's you become less accessible.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
you start going out less.
Yeah.
People start talking you onto the street.
Yeah.
You are less likely to give your phone number to them to get to meet again.
Yeah.
Unless they are kind of really special, they're really interesting.
Yeah.
I think there are like kind of like good and bad sides about kind of connecting based on your differentness.
Yeah.
I think that
No, that's a good point.
I think the good sides, I would say there aren't that many, because I think that for a lot of people who come to Thailand, kind of the main thing that I see is that they're not really coming here to kind of like establish themselves.
Right.
They're just coming here to like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy my life. And this is really common for a lot of people who come here for like a lot of the both the investment companies, the BOI companies,
Yeah.
right? They come here, they get a decent salary, and they're going to stay here for maybe 1 or 2 years, and
Yeah.
then they're going to leave,
Yeah.
even if they enjoy themselves here.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's
because,
that category that I mentioned, the
Yes.
first category, which is like, gonna stay a couple years, gonna like get lifestyle benefits and stuff, but like Thailand's not my long-term home.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's perfectly fine, because
Yes.
like, Thailand's not for everybody.
No, for sure.
Not everybody wants to learn Thai. Not everybody kind of enjoys the nightlife,
chaos.
everything
Yeah.
here, or even the islands.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like a lot of chaos kind of living in Thailand. But I think that there are a lot of downsides that I think that if you are a new person in Thailand, that really be kind of careful about who you meet, who you associate with,
Yeah.
who you spend money
Yeah.
with, and this applies both
Literally-
like romantic.
Literally just happened to me the other day.
Really?
Well, not really, but I just like met somebody, came across somebody. I won't say like who or where or anything.
Sure.
Hopefully they don't watch this.
You're on notice.
You know who you are.
you know what you did.
But yeah, I mean, basically, like, I just met somebody in like a random situation, another foreigner. I think they're probably living here, not the kind of category of people that I would usually hang out with.
Right.
Immediately, they like come over to me like, "Hey, you want to go and grab a beer?" And I'm like, "No, not really.
Not
like,
really, no.
Why? What? Like, I wouldn't go up to somebody randomly in London or like Singapore or San Francisco and be like, let's go for a beer, you know, like. And the only reason that they're doing that is because we're both white, right? Or
Yes.
we're both foreigners.
Well, I would say that in hindsight, I would say that probably they're trying to get something from you.
Yeah, right. Or like, even if they're not trying to get something from you, like, I mean, in most scenarios, that's not going to be a good use of your time, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not going to
every
get
single random person.
Yeah, like you're not going to get much from that. Like I mean, I love meeting new people. I'm totally down to go for a drink or whatever. But like, let's have a conversation first and see if we actually have anything in common. For the reason that we're going to go for
So
the
you
drink,
just
right?
pure
Like,
stranger, complete stranger.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like we'd met for about a minute, right? It's like, oh yeah, do you want to go and grab a beer? Now this was like 2 p.m. Right, and that's the other red flag.
That's the
It's
other
like,
thing.
if any foreigner walks up to you here and asks you if you want to go for a beer at 2
2
p.m., like run the other
British
direction,
bar as
like
well.
yeah,
No
like the
local-
Irish pub
no local pubs.
or something, you know, like, and this is like on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. It's like,
Okay.
dude, I've got shit to do, man. Like, you know,
You're not here for work.
like yeah, like what I was like, what are you doing? You know, like, but a lot of the time it's like that, and you can get stuck into a trap of like going and like saying yes to all these things. And I don't want it to come across like we're saying you have to say no to everything, because that's not what we're saying. But just have your wits about you, like when people offer you stuff, and you know.
I would say that when early on, what happened to me was that I was so lonely.
Yeah.
Like, because
yeah.
when you come here, you don't really have many friends, and I think it's different for you because you have your university friends.
Yes,
You
yeah.
really got
Like my uncle is
established.
here. I've
Yeah.
been coming here for a little bit, so I kind of like had a introduction to the culture and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
So for me, I was like, just dropped off into Thailand, six months to a year before COVID. You know, like it's still fun back then, and then you don't really have many friends. So you really kind of like I remember for like the first 3 to 4 months, a lot of Netflix.
Yeah.
Because like there was nobody to go out with, so
Yeah.
I couldn't go out every single night.
Yeah.
But eventually I did. It just kind of get things going. But definitely there were nights like you said, if you say yes to all of these things,
Yeah.
there are nights that you feel like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
What are they passing around? Why are they arguing about things that don't even matter?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and you lose yourself, right? You lose your you spend all of your time basically like saying yes to all this stuff,
Yeah.
and you don't sit back and think like, is this actually good for me, right? Like, what else could I be doing with my time? Whether it's, you know, meeting other people that are maybe more on the same page as you, or you know, doing something to, you know, work on yourself. whether it's working or exercise or whatever it might be, right?
And then,
I mean, I don't want to sound like I know all of this, because I fell into this trap. I was like that for like 2 or 3 years, right? I was like going out every weekend, you know, not like Soy 11 and stuff, but still would just like go out every weekend, say yes to a bunch of stuff. Bangkok's like, going back to the whole convenience thing, right? Like, it's one of the easiest places, I would say, like in the world to, if you want to like go out a lot, if you want to have a good time, if you want to enjoy yourself, like you can do it so easily here, right? Even if it's not, you know, going into to nightclubs and lady bars and stuff, like even if you're just like going out for nice meals and bars and stuff.
There's always a new restaurant open.
There's always a new restaurant, there's always a new bar to check out, you know.
New areas coming up.
Everyone wants to hang out, you know,
Yeah.
like, and it's so easy to just say, you know, get into that trap of like every weekend, multiple nights a week, you're going out, and you do tend to end up like losing yourself in it, right? And that's what people talk about when they say like people are like lost in Bangkok or whatever, like the Hangover movie, right? Like, Bangkok has it now. And I think it more refers to this concept of like you get stuck into this cycle because it's so cheap to go out. There's so much pleasure to be had here that you kind of lose the sort of like sense of like presence in yourself, right? Took me a while to like get out of that as well, right?
One thing that I do kind of feel about all of this is that a lot of foreigners I know, Indian, white, Western, even Asian, their main friends are other foreigners.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a bit sad because I know guys who are like 10 years, 15 years, they have no Thai friends.
That's crazy. Like, how is that possible?
I think it is possible. A lot of these guys are married to other foreigners.
Right.
So, and they work in a company which is 100%, sorry, not even 100, like maybe 90%, 80% foreigners.
Right.
So they don't need to speak Thai to get things done.
Yes.
They go to a hospital that speaks English to them. They order food through Grab or Food Panda.
It's almost like too convenient.
It's
right?
way too convenient.
Yeah.
So but then is that they don't have to kind of, and because they don't speak enough Thai, or maybe Thai people don't feel comfortable to be kind of around them, then they cannot be friendly with them. So it is kind of sad because
this this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they move here, right? It's like they don't integrate.
Especially if you want to stay long time.
Especially if you want to stay for a long time, but even if you just want to stay for a couple years, like you can't like, and I see this a lot as well, actually. Like now you mention it, you'll meet like foreigners that basically live like they're still in the West, but in like a bubble in Bangkok, in Sukhumvit or something. So they'll go like they'll eat Western food, you know, shop
at Villa Market,
super expensive supermarkets. They'll have all their Western restaurants that they go to. They'll very rarely eat like street food, or even not street food,
to
but
be
like
honest, I don't eat street food.
Yeah, but like
not
Thai food or Asian food.
Oh yeah,
right?
they don't even eat Asian food.
They don't eat spicy food. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, why are you here if you're not going to immerse yourself in the local culture and the way of living? Like, what's the point? Like, just go to Singapore, or like even not Singapore, like London or whatever.
Not even
right?
that. But basically, they've gotten nothing from being in Thailand. I
Yes,
know people
right.
who been here for 9 years cannot even say thank you properly.
Right, yeah. I know people just like that as well.
Cup.
Yeah.
And like, no, that's...
My pen right, like, that's the only, like...
But they don't even say that correctly. And I think that's just sad. Like, that's...
Yeah.
You need to say it every day.
Yeah.
And you can't even do that correctly.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So, both you and I kind of work in a local Thai company before, so we are kind of forced to interact with them.
Yeah.
And that has resulted in slightly better language proficiency. But I also think that, especially from kind of like a male perspective, even as a foreigner, you kind of need local friends to survive here.
Yes.
The great thing I feel about a lot of my Thai friends is that I don't feel that they're way too nice to me.
Yeah.
If I have a problem, I call them, even if it's at 2 a.m., they will show up.
Right.
And I don't think that I am that nice to my foreign friends in Singapore.
It's not reciprocal.
No, it's not. 2 a.m.? Bro, good luck. I'm sleeping.
Totally. Same in the UK. Yeah. You just be like, well, leave me alone, man. Like, it's 2 a.m.
But they are, because like, sometimes you're going out at night, especially if you go out alone, it can get a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
I would say that generally Thailand is even safer than Singapore, but you can kind of get into a situation that you're not prepared for.
There's a lot of corruption, mafia stuff here.
Generally, they leave foreigners alone.
Yeah.
But sometimes it happens, and sometimes it's good to have somebody on your side to explain to the cops or to other people in Thai, that, hey, like this guy's alright, just let him go.
Yeah, totally.
I would say it doesn't happen to me at all.
Yeah.
Or even much. But the thing is that it is kind of needed, because sometimes, like let's say if you fall ill and you are really far away from Bangkok where there are no hospitals that speak English.
What are you gonna do?
Well, you gotta. I hope you can speak Thai.
Google Translate doesn't work, by the way.
Yeah,
like, it's not effective.
Yeah. So you gotta come down a mountain somehow, and you gotta get some Thai people to help you.
Or if you have good Thai friends, then you'll be okay, right?
But then there's the other part of it, which is that if you have very good Thai friends, they really introduce you to kind of Thai lifestyle, Thai living.
Yes.
Even just kind of like places that only Thai people go to.
Yeah.
I think like for a lot of my friends who come to Thailand for holiday, it's really weird. But I can understand, because a lot of foreigners or tourists that come here, they want to be the only foreigner in the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's like, there's another Singaporean here. I don't like it.
This
place is getting too popular.
I feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
When I go to like a local place and there's like another foreigner, I'm like, damn it.
I'm not special anymore.
I wanted to be the only one that's eating this like somtam pala or something like that, like.
But I think like so like they introduce you to really interesting places that they don't want to, that maybe like you wouldn't know. And only someone who's like really into the kind of like Thai TikTok or Thai social media would know about it.
Yeah.
And even till today, like I still get introduced to places that literally just down the street from me, and I don't even know about
it's
it.
Like,
but it's like super hot.
This is a thing?
It's just like it's super hot. It's just that you just don't go there to the area, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah. I mean, like looking at that from a different angle as well. Like I actually think, we talked before about like, okay, foreigners that want to come and like get a job here, make a career here. You're looking. Let's say you want to get a job here, right? Well, if you can't speak Thai, okay, let's assume that they're still going to hire you. Like your chances are even worse if you don't understand the local culture. Like imagine if you're like, and this is from an entrepreneurship perspective of like trying to start a company or just like working here. Like if you're building products and services for Thai people, or you're working on products and services for Thai people, or if you have to work with other Thai people, how do you expect to be able to operate if you don't even understand the local culture?
So this is,
and that's the first thing about getting a job here. If you really want to sort of move here and get a job here, like you must understand the local culture, how they think, what they like and dislike, what problems they face, what they think about all the time. And like, how can you operate if you don't understand these things?
I think so. That's a really interesting point. I think if you've been to enough restaurants, especially the really Thai restaurants, you notice that there's a team. That Thai people really respond to. Like if you wanna open like a really successful restaurant in Thailand, all you need is it just needs to look good for Instagram.
Yes.
That's the most important
and
thing.
Have some like good discounts.
Good discount. Like if it looks like for example, Tichuca, right?
Yeah.
There's like a sky bar.
Right. Yeah.
Horrible drinks. Sorry, Tichuca. You can still sponsor me. But
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Looks amazing.
Doesn't matter.
I've been to like that place, and you see like 3 Thai girls sharing one drink.
Yeah.
Just so that they can get the picture,
and
they take turns taking the picture.
Yeah. I mean, like even just from the perspective of like somebody, and you will know this too, like working in a company here, like I've seen so many, and this tends to be the reason that people only stay here for a couple of years, like if they're foreigners and they leave, but they'll try and like bring their sort of Western idea of like the way that consumers behave or the way that things should be done over to here, and they'll be like, well, this is what we do, in the US or Singapore or whatever, like it's gonna work, whether it's like an idea or a marketing strategy or like a pricing model, or something.
It's
and
really
it just doesn't work here, right? It doesn't work here, and you can't be successful if you don't adapt the way that you're working to, the culture.
I think it's really, really odd, because it happened to me in Singapore when I was working for a German company, and they would say like, okay, this is how we do things in Europe.
Right.
So why can't we do it like this here? And it's the same even for China. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the Chinese e-commerce companies, they are the same way. The way they develop products is for China.
Yeah.
And if somebody in, let's say, outside of China says that, hey, like, you know, we don't really buy things this way, we kind of need this feature, and then they'll say that, no, you know, we're not going to develop this feature because like everybody should follow our way of thinking.
Yeah.
It is quite frustrating then, because then like, you're here to kind of like build the market for them, and then they're like, oh, I'm not interested to adapt at all.
Yeah.
I think another kind of like side of it is that you see a lot of Western companies in Singapore where they set up an office in Singapore and they hire only people who don't understand how things are done locally.
Right.
They don't speak the local language, they don't understand the local culture. And I think a lot of ways, in sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't, but when they don't, you're just setting up them up to fail, because you're not giving them the right tools to kind of to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's fairly common where I think right here I don't see it that much these days that they're trying to do it their way. The foreigner way.
No, yeah.
But I think the other side is true, where Thai people start to think that, oh, like their way is the right way.
Right.
But they may not 100% be true as well.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times when you are looking at how things could be done or done better, you just kind of I think the best kind of companies that do it here, they kind of be objective about it.
Yes.
They take like Big Cup, for example.
Yeah.
Right. They took a extremely foreign concept.
Yeah.
Which is crypto exchange.
Yeah.
And they marketed in a very Thai way.
Totally.
Which it's kind of amazing, like the way they do it.
Yeah. Totally.
So like I think like early on when I was starting to be kind of like in Thailand, I started to really go out a lot and I kind of meet a lot of people. And I remember that, you know, that there's like a lot of things that I think if you're coming to Thailand for the first time, you kind of are very lonely and you don't really have a lot of support like you're used to when you're back home.
Yeah.
I think because like for me, I used to travel quite a bit for work.
Yeah.
But that's only like 1 or 2 months.
Right.
But when you're really kind of like here, there's no going back. You're really here. You can't buy a ticket and go back. Tomorrow you gotta go back to work in a different place. And you know the kind of loneliness sets in. So what happened was like, I think this time this German fella, he asked me to go to like a pool party. And then
Classic.
Classic
place you don't want to end up is the pool parties.
You know, like he made it sound really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They always do.
It's not though.
They always do.
It's not fun. I don't see.
If anybody's listening and like they're like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like I just know like so there's a lot of like nice hotels here and they have like infinity pools and stuff.
But that's the great thing about Thailand. It seems that every nice hotel has like infinity pool, rooftop bar, rooftop pool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So what they all do like monthly pool parties basically. It's always on the same day every month. And in sort of like one segment of the expat community, it's a little bit of a like ritual that like you would go to this. You know, the most popular one is probably Sofitel.
Yes.
So Sofitel.
That was the one that I went to.
And to be fair, they're actually they can be quite fun parties, but if you go with a good group of people, you know, any party can be fun. But there's a lot of seedy people that go to these parties as well as
not just foreigners.
Yes,
I think
foreigners.
I think the main thing that we gotta say this is like we're shitting a lot of foreigners.
Yes,
but you have to be careful.
Yes,
because the people this coming from guys who stay for a long time.
Yeah,
there are good foreigners and there are bad foreigners, but there are very good Thai people and there are very bad Thai people.
Yes,
and you will find that for a lot of people who interact mainly with foreigners, date only foreigners.
Yes.
Those Thai people, you have to be kind of careful a little bit.
Specifically women.
Specifically women. Because there's a lot of stories that I can tell who really target, whether they are Western foreigners or Asian foreigners, they do not discriminate. They will try to like take advantage and prey on you.
Yeah.
So specifically, like at these kind of like parties, there's a lot of seedy people, there's a lot of disreputable people. They know that the people who go there, maybe they have their kind of guard down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a party.
It's a party,
you know.
chilling.
People, they come with some of their friends, maybe not at all.
Yeah.
Right. So they maybe they don't really have their guards up. So yeah. So if you're gonna go to these parties, yeah. So anyway, they always make it sound great. It isn't most of the time.
It's amazing. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of digital nomad types.
Yeah.
There are a lot of gaijin hunters. Gaijin hunters like Japanese term for like women who hunt foreign men.
Yeah. We just called them like Farang hunters.
Farang hunters.
Yeah.
One of my very good friends called them white worshippers.
Yeah.
But this is the funny thing though. Actually,
I don't know if it's changed now, but
I don't think so.
It was definitely like that.
The funny thing is this, right? Like in Singapore, we used to kind of have this kind of trend where, especially women, would really exclusively date white men. This has changed a lot.
Right.
I think that this is because that in Singapore, as kind of time has went by, education is getting better, earnings are getting better, experience and exposure to kind of Western lifestyle or even Western way of living, extremely comfortable way of living in Singapore has gotten way more common. As in a lot of these women who dated the foreigners before, they didn't always have the best experience, and a lot of them have turned bitter, and they've kind of informed their younger sisters or their friends that, you know, like it's not really that great.
Yeah.
So in Singapore, this trend has kind of gone away.
Yeah.
Where local women, there used to be a lot of local women would date foreign men.
Now they don't want to date foreigners. Or?
Well, I think so what has happened in Singapore is that the trend of women marrying local men has gone up.
Yeah.
It used to be going down.
Makes sense.
But the problem then now is that local Singaporean men marrying local women has going down.
Yeah. Okay.
Because so basically more Singaporean women are marrying Singaporean men.
Yeah.
But less Singaporean men over time has married local women. So because this comes from, you know, men making more money, going out, meeting different kind of people, and then kind of like vicious cycle a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do kind of agree that it is kind of weird. So this one it's weird for me because in Singapore this is no longer a thing, but there are a disproportionate number of Thai women.
Yeah.
And I kind of discussed it a little bit in my video before, where it seems that they have very specific tastes.
Yeah.
And they will if you talk to some Thai girls, they're like, oh, I only date British men.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm not quite sure where the perception comes from. I think it's like they perceive that maybe. Well, I think in some cases, I know for sure because I do know some of these kind of people that would like only date Farangs or foreigners. I think like some portion of them, they see the Western ideology and the Western way that men are from the West. It's not only men, right? Women and anybody that's coming from the West. Basically, and that's what they like. They want somebody that's a bit more like masculine, that's a bit more assertive, that's a bit more, you know, dominant. I would say is kind of the characterization of like Western mentality, but actually it's not. It's kind of like every sort of Westernized foreigner from, you know,
actually, this
Singapore as well.
But this is the funny thing though. Like I think that I know definitely Thai women don't think that.
Yeah.
But I think the Western mindset is that Thai men can be meek. No man, Thai men.
And it's totally not true.
It's not true.
It's totally
Thai
not true.
men are way more macho.
100%.
They are super egotistic.
100%.
They like 100% control.
And I'm not saying that's how it is, but that's like
the mindset.
It's kind of their mindset or perception a little bit.
Because
sometimes.
Yeah, because you talk to some of the Westerns here, and they're like, my girlfriend loves me because like I'm so macho and I'm so manly. Like you don't know any
Depends
Thai
where
men.
you go, right? Like I mean, if you go to like a Muay Thai gym, come and tell me that like Thai guys are not, you know, masculine and manly and stuff. Like you know, or you go and see a Muay Thai fight or something, or so there's like that category, and that reason that they prefer. White guys. I think the other reason is that there's just this underlying perception that they have more money,
which is also weird.
Which is also not true.
Yes, not anymore.
Like,
not anymore. Maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Most like the average white guy here, like even as an expat, is like way less wealthy than like wealthy Thai people. like they're, even if they're making like a Western level salary, most of them are still like employees. They're not like very wealthy entrepreneurs or anything like that, you know. So I'm also not sure where that comes from. Probably it's like a very historically, culturally ingrained perception.
Yeah, what I've been told is that a lot of Thai people, especially if they come from the countryside, up country, there's kind of like the mentality that, oh, like I see this neighbor getting married to a foreigner, and obviously she's going to have a little bit more money than everybody else.
Yeah.
So that means that, oh, all people kind of think that way.
But in Bangkok, it's like totally not true, right? Like all of my Thai friends are richer than me, probably.
Yes.
You know,
well, especially your Thai friends.
And like, you know, I mean, obviously, like there is levels to everything. So there's always going to be rich people and middle class people and working class people and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, like that argument of like going for, you know, farangs because they are wealthy is just totally not true.
Well, especially right now.
Maybe I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like, just thought about this. Maybe like the actual underlying reason is that they just see it as a trophy, and I think that was definitely true. You know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm not sure if it's still the case.
It was the case in Singapore.
Yes, yeah. So like I remember, you know, back in my dating days, or like having
you were a trophy.
I was like
the
best trophy. No, but like it definitely felt quite like that, right? And it would feel like when a sort of westernized Thai, or not westernized Thai girl, but like a Thai girl that likes to date farangs, they're a very specific category. They're usually darker skinned. They try to put on a very American accent when they speak English, or maybe a British accent. I once met one girl that spoke fully with a British accent, and I was like, "That's amazing! Like, how do you do it? Like, how long were you?" I was like, "How long were you living in the UK?" She was like, "Oh, I've never been there." I was like,
"Just Harry Potter then."
Yes. And I was like, "So how is it that you speak with this accent? Right? It's better than mine."
Like,
and
it's
she's just
thicker
like,
than yours.
yeah, she was just like, yeah, just like Netflix, YouTube, just practicing. I was like, why? She's like, oh, I just, you know, just want to sound like British, you know.
Well,
and so anyway, that's not really the point. But there definitely used to be this perception that like if you walk around in the streets with a farang guy, it's like somehow a trophy. But then there's definitely different levels to this, because only like the condition to that is like only if the farang guy is not a farang kino, right? Okay. So like if you are
farang kino, so literally in Thai means farang means foreigner.
Yeah.
Kino, ki is bird.
Right.
Sorry, ki is shit.
Yes.
And nok is bird, so farang bird shit.
So like,
meaning this usually is a foreigner who's cheap.
Yeah, it's a bird shit. Basically, just like all of the stuff that we described towards the beginning around like Pattaya, Soy 11, like all of that stuff, like any association with that stuff would get you labeled as basically a farang kinok, which is basically just like you're a seedy, like wrinkly, like.
There are a lot of pretty good-looking and rich farangs in Bangkok.
Yeah,
I've met them.
They're probably under the surface. They are also a farang kinok.
All men, right? We're all men like women.
Yeah. But no, like that's how I would say it. So they are hunting after these guys that maybe they are actually like starting a company, or they have a high position. And usually these are the guys that go to these like pool parties. You won't find like these Soy 11 farang kinoks at Sofitel pool party. So it's a very different like category of farang, I would say. Yeah.
I think so that's really interesting, because I think that specifically I think it's still prevalent. I was talking to a Thai friend recently, and he was saying that this girl that he used to date was like that. Like she would specifically go to Khao San Road to find a farang.
Yeah.
And just have a one-night stand with them, just because status.
Yeah.
Status.
Yeah.
Just a status thing.
Yeah.
Just to say that I've done it.
Yeah. And there's almost no logic behind it, right? Because especially if it's just a one-night stand. I mean, what are you getting from that?
Yeah,
right?
not even. Yeah, so like,
Like,
yeah, it is pretty odd,
It's-
but some people think they're kind of like their own way.
yes, and that's another thing about Thailand, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people believe certain things for no particular reason other than like they heard it from somebody else, and like there's no rationalization a lot of the time behind things. It's
Yeah,
just
I
like
think-
that's just how it is.
I think
right?
yeah, the kind of I think in this part the kind of negative idea that Thai people are very gossipy
Yeah.
is pretty true.
Yeah,
Working
yeah,
in a Thai
yeah.
office, it
Yeah.
seems that because this is the thing. When I started here, you don't know Thai, and then you just listen to them, and you're like, oh, I bet they're discussing something important,
Yeah.
and then you learn Thai, and they're discussing the most boring thing in the world, so gossipy.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just like yeah.
I don't know if you got that as well, because that was for me. Because like as my vocabulary wasn't as good back then, I'm like, oh, they must be discussing something like profound or interesting, because it seems that they're having a good time. And then later on, you're like, oh, they're just discussing like, oh, like do you know this girl? She went home and back at this time. They don't talk about other people like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really like thought about that kind of thing, but like, I mean, definitely there's a lot of gossip and there's a lot of like groupthink.
Groupthink,
right?
yes.
I would describe it as groupthink, like, and this really goes down to the core of like what's different between the East and West in terms of culture, right? It's like there's this. In the West, there's a level of like independence, right? And you are expected to kind of like really form your own opinion and be different, right? Like you should be different, you should be unique, right? You should stand out from the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like the like that's the polar opposite of at least Southeast Asian culture as I've experienced it in Thailand. It's very much like fit in, go together as a group. And like something that, and that's the reason that there's such an Instagram culture that you were talking about before. It's like, oh yeah, like if something's cool and trending, like that's where everybody wants to be, for no particular reason other than like that's where everyone else is.
Yes,
right.
That's
like,
the only reason.
it's
Just so
not-
that I can post it on Instagram and I've been here.
It's not like I've analyzed the data and I've made like a logical decision that that's my opinion and I want to like that thing. It's just that's what everyone else likes, and like
it's pretty insane because you could go to a restaurant, next 3 restaurants on either side of it completely empty.
Yeah.
One restaurant bursting to the seams.
Yeah.
So much business, and then you go in there, you have their bubble tea, you have their toasted bread, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, but it's also, I think, quite a challenge. I mean, it must be an incredible challenge to run one of these businesses in Thailand because you're really waiting for that moment of potential virality. And when it happens, I mean, stuff is so ephemeral here. Like,
Yes.
it's not.
Yeah, they're not going to be famous
There's
for 6 months.
no long-term value
Yeah.
in this kind of stuff because stuff are just trends for like 6 months, like
That's
you
it.
said, and then there's a next thing, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a next thing, there's a
Yeah.
next thing, right?
Yeah, so like I told you before, right, there was this nightclub in Route 66.
Right.
It's a Chinese nightclub.
Classic.
When they first started, you couldn't get a table.
Yeah.
You would have to beg
Yeah.
to get a table.
Or pay like a ridiculous.
You pay a
amount.
ridiculous amount of
Yeah.
money. And I've never seen this before. Like, if you want to book a table, you gotta pay up front.
Wow.
Whatever you're drinking that night, you pay up front.
Wow.
And I've never seen that before
No,
in my
me
life.
too. Yeah, me
So
too.
you say, okay, we're gonna drink 2 bottles, gotta pay up
I
front.
mean, I've seen maybe you need to give a deposit or something, like a couple thousand, but not like you need to pay the entire order
pay the entire
up front.
order up front. That was for a while, and then 6 months to a year later, it's not doing as well.
Yeah.
There's always the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you go to Tong Lo,
Yeah.
you go to one restaurant, you go to one club, you go to one bar. It's hot for a few months. Next one, next one, next
Yeah.
one, next one.
I can't really think of anything that's like endured, like probably the pool party, but that's because it's all
Well,
foreign.
because there's always new foreign. The full moon party, right?
the full moon party, yeah. It's
Yeah.
all tourists.
It's
right?
all tourists.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So like, I think for a lot of these girls who kind of date foreigners only exclusively, I still find it a bit weird, because essentially it's kind of just. I don't even consider kind of like preference anymore. It's kind
Yeah.
of just racism
Yeah.
at that point.
And I think as well, like, when you know the real Thailand and you meet real Thai people and you have like real Thai friends, not that these women are not real Thai people, but that's also not the real Thailand. That's like what we were talking about before.
They don't even think
that sort of level on the surface that like if you have like actual real Thai friends, they'll want to actually date, you know, other Thai people as well. Like especially just normal women here, they don't actually. They find it quite uncomfortable or intimidating to actually consider the concept of dating a foreigner. And also, like in my experience, like my fiance is like more from a Chinese family. It was actually quite weird that she, you know, got together with a Farang. Like the first time it ever happened in the entire family. And in some other families here, like especially Chinese families, it would be not allowed.
Yes.
Like it would literally be like you are not dating
they would check.
that white trash.
they would check. Oh, do you like even within Chinese? They'd be like, okay, is he Chinese? Yes, he's Chinese. Is it them? Is he our kind of Chinese?
Yeah.
They're like, what?
I think like in my case, the only way that I was really able to get away with it is because I understand so well the actual culture here,
right.
And I can speak a little bit Thai. I love like the Thai food that most Farangs don't eat.
I think you should. People should see what Jamie sends me for his breakfast, and I'm just like, how do you eat that? Even for me, I'm like, that's like a Chinese, like super Chinese food.
Yeah, I love it.
Century egg. Like if you eat it, people like automatically Chinese people, Thai people like, oh, respect.
Like respect. It's actually the
super
secret.
respect.
Like if anybody's like watching this and they want to like instantly like increase the level of respect, like just go and eat like century egg or like I don't know som tam pala or like
durian,
like proper like foods,
proper
like,
Thai food.
That people would like never try.
I think like even when I was in Singapore, always loved because Singapore's like kind of like food paradise, right?
Yeah.
And I bring foreigners to eat really local stuff. It does give me a lot of joy to really see them attack the food.
Especially if they like it.
And then they put in the right sauces.
Yeah.
Like
I mean the sauce thing is like that's serious business.
It's serious business.
Like you have to have the right sauce, man. For the right
so
thing.
if you see them like because like for me, when I eat Thai food, I don't really use the right sauces. I like it natural taste. But you know, you see them use the right sauces, like respect.
Like that earns you like so many points. Like and actually like if you work here, if you're like managing a team or if you're working in a team, like it's so important to actually integrate yourself to that level with the local culture. Like if I tell my team like, oh, I ate century egg for breakfast, like their level of respect and their willingness to work with me and respect me as a peer is like so much higher than if I was like, oh, you know, I remember when I first moved here, all of the foreigners that I would like meet and especially when I was studying, they would be like, I just don't understand how Asian people eat rice for breakfast, right?
Is that not?
That's like
no, but in the UK you eat
exactly. So like,
but not for breakfast.
Yeah, not for breakfast. But I mean, they eat bread, which is also a carbohydrate. Like, what's the difference? I don't understand. But that was always like these little things. They separate you as a foreigner from the locals, right? You live an isolated life where you go to like your bakery
you're really so different from them.
and buy like a sourdough or something for breakfast, and it's like it makes a big impact when you work with people here and like when you want to build relationships with local people. Like if you level with them and you do the same things that they do, they're going to respect you.
I think it's not just your subordinates as well. It's especially
like
if everybody. Like literally, like
100%.
if you go to like some like because our company has so many outings, right? And people who are certain level, we are expected to take part in those outings.
Yeah.
And to integrate.
Yes.
And you know, I heard a lot of stories from you that like how you would integrate with these people.
Yeah.
And I think that not everybody would be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you would, I think like you would, like they would invite you to like beach drinking.
Yeah. Like,
and you didn't speak Thai.
Yeah.
They didn't speak English.
Yeah.
But it's about the attitude that you bring in to really kind of integrate with them.
Totally. I think it's just about like dropping your own ego or your own preconceived beliefs about things, right? Like people really appreciate if you just put some effort in. right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
like,
that's
even
the-
if you're not good, like, it's the same with learning Thai, trying foods that and this, I've seen this a lot with foreigners here as well, like, they wouldn't even try.
Yes.
Right? They refuse to even try. And I'm like, they're gonna respect you if you try it and you say, this is disgusting, how can I can't eat this? They're still gonna respect you. Like, but if you just say like, oh no, I wouldn't even touch that, like that's just a joke or something, which a lot of foreigners do, that's what creates the divide and the gap.
Yeah, there's a lot of bitterness, I think,
Totally.
in especially like the Thai expat community. For really, I agree. I don't understand.
Yeah,
we decided to come
eat
here.
weird stuff. You know?
Yeah.
To them, it's weird. Like, how can you eat so much?
Why
bread?
is it weird? Yeah, this is the thing though. Like, you decided to come here. You know what they cook,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you should get used to it.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so I think back to the topic about like I think some of the Thai women kind of dating. I still find it unusual, mostly because that I see that Thailand has a lot of things to be proud of.
Yes.
And because I saw the change in Singapore. Singaporean women especially started to date fewer foreign men because I saw it as they became more proud of their Singaporean identity.
Yes.
It
right.
became even that like it used to be again status, right? If you were to go out with your school friends or
Yeah.
colleagues, and, then maybe this girl she bought a foreigner, like status. But now it's more like why? You couldn't get someone better?
Why?
No, but it is.
There's nothing else available.
There's nothing else available. You couldn't get. But this is how some Thai people look at it.
Yeah.
They do kind of because you did say this, right? Like,
Yeah.
how can this white outsider marry
Yeah.
into this
Yeah.
Thai family who
Yes.
is very traditional?
Yeah.
Who would not. In some families, they would not even be allowed.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, most of you described earlier like these sort of expats that work here, say they have high positions in a company and they, you can't really meet them because they live quite private lives. Like most of these expats, they have gone through the same thing as like what I've gone through, for example, which is like, they've integrated themselves into the culture here. They're probably also married into, a Chinese kind of very Thai style family, for example.
Yeah.
And that's really like the secret to like living here for a long time, right? It's like you have to like integrate to that level. It will bring you way more happiness than trying to fight against it.
So
right?
I think so this is another great point. I think that this is also why you should get more Thai, especially this is just really from a male perspective. You should get more Thai male friends.
Right.
Because if you do because you're in Thailand, you're going to date a Thai girl.
It's an unlock. Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%.
it is the most important thing to kind of like suss out whether this girl is really like for you and she's going to be a good match for you. Is actually get your Thai male friends.
Yeah.
And to an extent, even female friends to vet her.
Yeah.
Get them into a group setting, get her to talk to them, interact with each other, spend a lot of time with each other, and try to.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this because there were some Thai women who refuse to meet my local friends.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because they
really,
I think they know.
they know that they're going to be
Sussed out.
Sussed out.
Yes.
And like, what are they sussing out? The fact that she is not like
Not a good person.
not just good or not loyal or like what are the
Well,
things
just
that-
I think a lot of them.
or they have like a different intention or something.
Yes, so I think like I would say that a lot of women in Thailand who are trying to be, they do see people like me as kind of like a way out.
I mean,
You know,
yeah,
access to a more comfortable life.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're looking for somebody like with this specific criteria, you can't have the best of intentions, right? It's like saying that I need to have somebody that's 6'2", not 6'1", right? 185, not 190, right? Like if you're making your love decisions based on these like ridiculously small criteria, like you can't have the best intentions,
No,
right?
I think not just that, because like I think they specifically, if you're able to get a bunch of Thai friends, it's very important for them to kind of get the girl that you're dating to meet this girl, because I think there's a lot of, like I said, group think.
Yes.
And
I mean,
to us if they behave in a very unusual way, we would just think that, oh, this is an unusual person.
Mm.
But from a Thai person to Thai person,
Yeah.
they will see it as like this person is acting suspicious as fuck. but that's
Yeah.
I think really true. So
Yeah.
a few of them wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
like early on I dated
And I
this
feel
Thai
like,
girl.
I mean, I feel like if they can't like just get on with them, then there's clearly something
Well, not
wrong.
even get on.
Right?
They don't even
Like,
want to be like
yeah,
go
that,
out,
that's very
watch a movie.
strange.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Go out have dinner with my best buddy, Thai guy. No, sorry, too busy.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Red
flag.
huge red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think
like once you've been here for quite a while, you can suss it out quite quickly.
Yeah, by yourself.
Like by yourself.
but I think it's still important. Like
Yeah.
get as many people involved in this process as
yeah.
possible.
I mean the problem as well is like a lot of foreigners here where they go looking for girls in terms
that's a
of
problem.
like people to date and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I mean. And if you're really looking for somebody that's like a really good girl, like local, like that you want to build a long-term relationship with, you're not going to find her in any of these places that most of the foreigners are looking for women, right? Like in a club or in a bar, or like you might meet them in a club or a bar, but it's going to be like a local one, like not like these like sort of foreigner first tourist
This is the thing,
destinations
though.
and stuff.
This is the thing though, because I feel that it's really different these days. Because I go to very, very local places, and the problem with like a lot of these local places is that you don't really meet
Other people.
normal people. Because these places aren't cheap.
And to be honest, the average Thai person, they don't really like partying.
Yes.
They don't like drinking. Like
No.
most Thai people, if you work here and you work in an office or whatever, like you'll know whenever you go out for a meal or something, they can tolerate about 0.5 drinks
Yeah,
before they're
half a
totally,
can.
so they don't enjoy it. Like they don't go out partying. Like there's among normal Thai people, it's a very, very like bad thing if you're out partying too much. It's perceived very badly.
Yes, it's
so
not
like
a good, it's not a good look.
in general, like even if you're in a local place and you meet other Thai people, they're going to be like a very specific subset of Thai people that are somehow, okay with that level of sort of going out and stuff like that. I mean, it's not always the case. Like, let's be honest, it's not always the case.
So I'll
but
give an example. One time we went to this local place, very local, at Soy 7, Ekamai.
yeah,
So a bunch of Singaporeans, we went there, kind of party and stuff. And I've been here for some time, so a bunch of really good looking girls were kind of mingling around us, and my friends were talking to them. So I was looking at these girls, and they were like, I think some foreigners think that, just because they go to an expensive place, that means that these people have money.
no, yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily true.
Trap number one.
Trap number one, they
It
try
means
to,
they're maybe looking for money.
it means they're looking for money. So what happened was that, my
Or they're
friend-
paid to be there.
Yeah.
Which
yes,
is another thing.
that's the other
Yeah.
thing that I think.
Yeah.
Most people when they see it, they don't go to these places, so they don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, that's 100% true. A lot of very good-looking people, men and women, get paid to stand at the bar,
Just to chill.
at the club,
Yeah.
just to make it look like super glamorous.
Yeah.
They're hot.
There's
people
one club on Soy 11 that's notorious for this. It's
Which
called Levels.
Levels?
Levels.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's a very popular foreign place. I've
Yes.
been there a few times in my studying days.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
It is. I would say it's an institution.
Yeah,
It is
it's like a very renowned place,
Yes.
basically. But yeah, I mean, like at any given time when you go there on a night out, it could be like 30-40% of people are like paid to be there,
Yes.
like as models or as, both male and female, as you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to be careful of
So
that.
what happened was that they talked to these two girls. So after that, I was so like, I told him like, hey, like, kind of watch out for these people. He said, no, don't worry, they are high soul girls. And I'm like, high sool girls don't carry.
They will not be there.
No,
either.
well, first thing,
Yeah.
good girls don't go to clubs
No.
in Thailand. Whether it's Thailand or UK or Singapore.
Yeah.
Because like I would say that they don't.
Yeah.
They gotta work tomorrow.
Well, I don't know, man. I think in the West, like
Yeah.
in Europe and stuff, like it's much more common.
Yes.
But definitely in Asia, this is something that's quite clear.
Yeah.
Like really good women, they don't really
They cannot-
go
they-
out
they-
and party. Not because they
They don't enjoy it.
not
or
because they're
whatever.
not allowed to, but they just don't enjoy it. They do other things, right?
Yeah, really kind of like some women don't even drink at all. Like you bring them to a nightclub, you want to show them a good time, just have water.
Totally.
Just have Coke.
Totally.
Or orange soda or something.
Totally. Yeah.
So anyway, so he was like, oh, these are rich girls. I don't think so. First thing, they were carrying, so in Thailand, most places are bottle service, right?
Yeah.
So you get a bottle at your table.
Yeah.
So the girls were carrying the bottle back. Like, red flag number one. Rich girls don't carry fucking bottles.
No.
They leave it. Or they get a guy to carry it.
Yeah.
No, they don't
Yeah,
carry
yeah.
bottles. Second, the thing number two, they wanted to meet you tomorrow for dinner. Okay. Alright. Okay, so what happened was that.
Interesting.
So anyway, so what happened was that these two guys brought these two girls out to, I think, like a hotel, bar, and restaurant, spent an obscene amount of money
Yeah.
to drink with them, and then brought them out clubbing, spent another obscene amount of money, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I told them that, bro, those are not
Yeah.
high soul girls.
Yeah.
Well, first thing, if they were high soul girls, they wouldn't allow you to bring them to go clubbing.
No.
They got Thai guys.
Yeah, they
to
wouldn't.
bring them to
Yeah,
clubbing.
they wouldn't go. Yeah, I mean, like I've been, to the HISO world
Yeah.
here in Bangkok
Yes.
is incredibly hard to penetrate.
Yes.
As a foreigner,
Well,
I don't know.
Even as a
or as a Thai.
even as a Thai. Yes.
I don't know anybody, any foreigner or any Thai person for that matter, that's really like broken into that. It's an incredibly like insular. They don't mix with people from outside of the HISO community. They go to different places. They live a different life.
If they're even in Thailand.
There are certain places that you can go and see them in the wild.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing.
But
I think-
in those places, they're not gonna like hang out with you. They're
So
not
this
gonna
is
talk
an
to
interesting
you.
thing. I think that when people think of like high soul, we're thinking about really like rich, super rich society people.
Yes.
Their daughters and their sons don't have to work.
No.
They speak perfectly good English. They're educated overseas.
Yeah.
They holiday in France as if you and I are holidaying in Pattaya,
Phuket or
Phuket.
something, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time you see this person's Instagram, she is in France, Bali, Italy, East and West Coast of the United States.
Yeah.
It seems that this person is not working at all.
Yeah.
When she comes back to party, she's not partying at commoners would party at, where
No.
anybody can walk in and anybody can buy a bottle.
Right,
They
no.
go to exclusive country clubs
Yes.
where they have their own house parties or kind of like very, like you said,
Totally.
extremely insular.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you invite them out,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
might come
Yeah.
for one drink.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally. 100%. 100%. 100%.
So it's you said, yeah, you're right. The correct word is insular. You are extremely unlikely to meet them in the first place.
don't even try.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you were to even meet them in the first place, they wouldn't even allow you to buy them a drink.
No.
Because they
No.
wouldn't even drink with you.
no.
Yeah.
No. They don't even buy drinks. Like they
Oh,
just
yeah.
get, just
They don't
get
even buy drinks. They get
right?
drinks.
Like, it's not like a. Yeah. It's not like normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I wouldn't go out anywhere looking. I mean, like any girl that you meet in like bars here and stuff. Like, I mean, but there's a lot of exceptions to this, man. There's a lot of exceptions to this.
I would say that I get a lot of flack from our mutual Thai friends.
Yeah.
For doing exactly that.
Right.
And they say like you're looking at the wrong.
What
place.
from like going to look for girls?
Yeah, no,
like,
just going out and then continuing to contact these women.
Right,
But they always say
yeah.
like you're looking at the
Yeah,
wrong places.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there are
yeah.
other places
Yeah.
to kind of find really like high quality.
I mean, I think it's incredibly hard for a foreigner to like really find a Thai partner that ticks all the boxes for you as well, because we as foreigners, we like a particular sort of like personality as well that I know from a Western foreigner's perspective, a lot of women here, they don't tick that. right? They don't meet that. They are much more like preferred by like Thai guys, for example.
Yeah.
So,
I think even from kind of like a very simple perspective, I think for you and me, maybe we like a woman who's more worldly.
Yes.
For lack of a word. You like someone who you can talk to certain things, that you can kind of explain your job.
Talk about like politics.
Talk about politics a little bit.
Business or something. Yeah.
And perhaps even someone kind of like stand on their own feet a little bit.
Yes.
And you know that hey, like if the chips are down, like she can help me as well.
Yes.
Which is generally
quite uncommon.
Uncommon in
Yes.
Thailand.
Yes.
And it's not helped by the Thai men.
Yeah.
Because it's a culture that's reinforced by other Thai men.
Yeah.
Because again, our mutual friends.
Yeah.
The way they kind of look at relationship, I would say, I would consider it like toxic.
Right.
Because I would say that
Really?
like, yeah, because like they just kind of they do everything for their wife.
Yeah.
They pay everything for the wife.
Yeah.
They give their entire life for the family.
Yeah.
Everything is for the family.
Yeah.
You're like, it's 11 o'clock. Gotta go back to the family.
Yeah.
I'm in this job that's kind of a dead end. No choice. I bought a house with the wife.
Yeah.
So I gotta do it.
Yeah.
My wife is accustomed to 2 holidays a year.
Mm.
So, but it is kind of toxic.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's just different, right? Like the typical blueprint relationship dynamic that we have being more westernized is just like it isn't here, and 95% of cases, the women that you meet here, they would probably expect you to like really provide for them. I'm lucky, and I think the Farangs and the foreigners that meet somebody that they spend a long time with here, I think they just get lucky and they find women that are maybe more Western minded or a little bit different.
The thing is this, right? Like there are 100% a lot of women who believe in a more equal relationship.
Yes.
It's extremely common.
Yes.
The problem is they only date Thai men.
Yes, and the Thai men, like it tends to be they tend to be as you have described. I would say like a little bit more like they want to be the provider.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. If that's how you want to be, right?
I think there's 2 sides. It's that there are a lot of Thai women who are happy to kind of share everything and kind of do all of these things, but there are certainly another group of Thai men who are happy to provide for 100%.
Yeah.
And this kind of cascades into the mindset that this is what a good man does. Never mind that they do other things that they're not supposed to.
Yeah. I guess like that's the main thing about like the biggest difference when we talked about like the women that are like targeting Farangs and stuff. I think a lot of the time it is because of this as well, because they have a little bit more of a Western mentality, and the Thai guys, they just don't do it for them because they all sort of want to take this like provider role, which could be seen as being quite submissive in a way, right? Because although I don't think that that's the case in Thailand necessarily, like because I've seen a lot of cases where like yes, okay, the guy is like the provider, but at the same time it's not a submissive relationship whereby the woman can't do stuff for herself. It's just she and I've seen it in a lot of cases where like the woman in a relationship, in a marriage or something, like she's actually like starting up side businesses and like doing things like opening a shop or opening a salon,
but this is like
all this kind of stuff,
But this is the thing in the West, right? Like it's that like a regular man's wife does floristry, right, but a rich man's wife loses businesses. Right. But that's 100%. That's yeah. And we have mutual friends who are very well to do, and that's what their wives do. They run businesses.
Yeah. Loss making businesses.
Well, some of them are loss making,
but some of them do really well.
But some of them do even better than the husbands eventually because of the husband's support.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't think it's like good or bad or right or wrong because like for example in Indian culture, a lot of my Indian friends who are married, both husband and wife hold like a master's or a PhD.
Right.
But they get married really young.
Yeah.
And they have children on top of that. So what do? So they kind of look at it as if like, okay, this time my wife going to take 5 years to do her master's, and she's going to have the baby as well.
Yeah.
So my job is then to 100% support, do everything.
Yeah, this process.
And then when she comes in, she gets a master, she gets her job, she's settled. Okay, then it's my turn to get my masters.
Yes.
And this is extremely common, kind of like in my kind of Indian friend group.
Yeah.
Which to me again is like, that's a really difficult life to lead.
Yeah.
But that's extremely common.
I mean, like, what's another interesting point to add to that is like, what's interesting about Thailand is I think that it's actually an incredibly equitable society from a corporate perspective, from a working perspective. I think I don't know the statistics, but the statistics is like really interesting. The Thailand has one of the highest percentage of like female in management positions and management and directorship positions. So when you work in Thailand, you actually deal with many women in like very senior management positions.
Very capable women,
which is really not as common still in the West, and I think in Singapore and places like this. So it's interesting because people might think that because we have said like, oh yeah, maybe the guy is providing more or something like that, it means that it's like not an equitable society. But I actually totally disagree with that. I think compared to like what some of the things that I've seen happening in Europe and stuff, like Thailand itself is like actually very equal, and people definitely do play on the same level, definitely from a business perspective.
I think opportunity-wise, which is what equity means, is that it is very equal. But I think just on a society and kind of social perspective, it's not super equal.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
There are certain things that Thai women are expected to be or do in the office that would not be allowed in the West or in Singapore, which is, again, not right or wrong. You just kind of play these things to your advantage, because there are women who buck the trend, and they are able to successfully buck the trend and be respected because they are willing to step out and buck the trend. And there are men, and but I would say again, from a very kind of male perspective, the pressure upon men to kind of be a certain kind of man in the office, it is a pressure. Because you are expected to behave in a certain way, be manly in a certain way. You can't complain. You can't bitch. You can't whine. You can't be gossipy about other people. You can't reject drinks.
I think that's more the case in Asia. Like especially like there's less of a divide between personal and work here. I feel compared to like, it's actually crazy because like going back into the UK and working for a little bit, it really is like once you clock out, like you're done. You go home, you have a separate life. Like, don't text me, don't call me, when it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or something. Here it's not like that at all. Like,
the higher you climb, the more it blurs.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Because I've heard stories of like certain CEOs, they have brunch with their bosses every weekend.
Yeah. Well, like it's literally like 24 hours, like because you'll go, and that's the thing. Like doing business in Asia, a lot more happens after hours than during hours.
So your bosses and your clients become your best friends.
Yes, because you spend more time with them.
Literally become your best friends because to bring you out, they're the ones who kind of console you about your personal problems. When you have personal issues or you want to set up a business, they are the ones who make the contacts for you.
I mean, really, if you want to get stuff done in business in Asia, like you've got to be able to meet after hours, and most of the biggest sort of like things happen from 6 till midnight, right? Rather than from 9 till 6, right?
So
which is totally different from operating in Europe.
Because in Europe it's like, okay, 6:30.
Yeah, it's like
we're done for the day,
and you have to respect that, right? Like I think it's.
Are there like if you were to go out if you meet a client, are there no like, okay, let's hit the pub?
Very uncommon. With colleagues it's more common. So I guess it depends a lot on like industry and the kind of business you're doing. Like in marketing and agencies and stuff, is like much more normal to do like socializing things, but in general, I would say it's like much less common to hang out after work, meet clients for dinners and stuff. Like those meetings happen 9 till 6.
Yes.
Right. And when you're working in Asia, like You could have a meeting 9 till 6.
That's only the first meeting.
No decision is going to be made 9 till 6.
No.
Like you can have a meeting, but you're not going to get an answer.
We met a client together.
Yeah.
After 7.
Yes.
And that went on till like midnight.
Yeah.
And that was because it's just easier.
And it's not uncommon, right?
It's,
It's just much more relationship based, and I think operating in the West is much more transactional. It's much more transactional. It's like we are talking because we are establishing a business relationship, right? And we are not friends unless we become friends. We can become friends, but on the sort of base level, like we can still do business together even if we don't necessarily like get on, right? Or if we don't have much in common, we can still do business together. It's fine. I think that's not really possible here.
Yes.
I think if you are not friends, if you don't build that trust, if you don't see eye to eye, I don't think a deal's going to get done here. Whereas that deal could definitely get done in the West.
I think so. I don't particularly know in your context, but I know that, for example, here, being really personable, like really kind of like really friendly, being really kind of like going after them in terms of like how's your day going, how's the wife going, like what can I do to help you in your career or personal life is a very, very common thing here.
Totally.
In Singapore,
many foreigners really struggle with this.
Really?
Because it's not. I mean, it is a thing that you would do in the West. Like, of course, like care about other people.
Yeah.
But especially probably people are going to hate me, but like Germans, for example, when Germans work, they're incredibly focused on work.
Focused.
Not unless it's prompted, they wouldn't really like start asking personal life related questions, right? They wouldn't be like, oh, so like where do your kids go to school, or like how's your wife doing, or your husband doing, or something. So like a lot of foreigners, when they come here and work, they really struggle with this. It's really tough.
So because we kind of expect, at least from an Asian perspective, we expect it to be warm.
Yes.
Like super warm about this.
Yeah.
Like it's very common to say like, hey, like where are you staying? Oh, you're staying at this place.
That's like a conversation starting.
Yeah. Like how much? Like even questions that would not be allowed in Germany, for example. How much do you pay for this place?
Yeah.
But that is
how much do you earn?
How much do you earn?
It's very common here to ask somebody like how
many
much
months
they make.
bonus did you get?
Yeah.
But that's a very common question, and it's considered a friendly question.
Yeah.
Because I'm really hoping, for me, just my perspective, I'm really hoping that you get the bonus because you're my friend.
Yeah.
I hope that you get a big ass bonus,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna hit the club, we're gonna have a good time, and then when you're happy.
It's like weird to talk about this stuff in the West.
Yes, it is really. It's very uncomfortable.
I mean, people definitely talk about it, but it's not like something that everybody people just like openly say, like, oh, I got 2 months. Like, how much did you get?
No, right? The other part of it is bragging.
Yeah.
It's bragging.
I got like 5 months.
It's like what? My company did great. I got 5 months. How much did you get? You got nothing. Ha ha. You got nothing. But it is a little bit of bragging.
Totally.
I know in Singapore it's very much that case. It's always kind of like comparing. Like, okay, I got a BMW.
Yeah.
You didn't get a BMW.
But I feel like it's not necessarily the comparison thing for that purpose here. I feel like people just like are super transparent with these kind of things. Like they don't see any reason why it needs to be private, right? Which I actually like.
I think
in some cases.
I think some people still try to hide it.
Yeah.
Because it may come off as braggy that I bought a 20 million Thai baht house.
that would be the reason that they would hide
it. They would hide it. But they're not hiding it because they're like, I don't want to.
It wouldn't be like,
it's too
this
private.
is my personal data.
Yeah,
like,
it's my own
it would be like, I don't want to come across as like too braggy or show offy. Yeah. I mean, one story that's interesting that I remember is it's a very common thing here. For when you work in a company, they do like an annual health checkup.
Oh shit! I didn't do mine.
So what happens? This would be super interesting to people that like work in the West,
really?
Or like haven't worked in a Thai company. Basically, one day every year, like this big hospital truck will just show up at the company office, right? And basically it's like a medical truck. You go on it and they'll do a bunch of tests, like blood tests, cancer screening, like all kinds of stuff, right? It's actually a super cool benefit that you get here. You get a comprehensive checkup once a year, 100% free on the company and everything. But you do it like in the office, and like all your colleagues are seeing your results, and everybody's comparing their results. Like, oh, what did you get on the eye test? Well, like how many white blood cells do you have? You know, and this, like, for me, I never got over this. Like, I still can't get over this, because for me, like health is that thing that you don't really cross over. Like, it's different from saying where do you live, right? Like, it's like, you know, do you have any health conditions, right? Like, that should be. I'm all for, like, the company should provide that, but like, you should just go to a hospital and do it privately and get the results
even
privately,
in a hospital,
right?
Are you as disturbed as I am when you go to the hospital and the nurse asks you?
We should have talked about this at the start, man. Like,
do you get disturbed as I am, like, when the nurse asks you what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's private.
Yeah, and usually it would be in, like, quite a public area of the hospital.
Like,
you just walk into the reception.
Just all these, like, nice, cute nurses surrounding you. There's some auntie just pushing her daughter, and you know she speaks English.
Yeah.
And then it's a really, like, especially as you get older, the more private health problems come up.
Yeah.
You know, like urinary tract, you get like something wrong with your butt.
Yeah.
And, like, all of these very uncomfortable things that happen to you.
Like, you want to have a rectal exam or something.
Yeah, so like I had something wrong with my rectum.
Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable to tell her, like, yes, something
like,
wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Something wrong with
just
my butt.
Go to the 5th floor. They'll take care of it.
I'm just like, every time I do it, I still can't get over it. Same as you. And they're like, I got something wrong with my butt.
I think this is actually the one thing about here that I haven't assimilated to, and I don't think I ever will. Because for me, like, it's so deeply ingrained that health is such a private thing, and like, whenever you do healthcare in, like, Singapore or the UK or something, they pay so much attention to the privacy aspect of it.
Yes.
It's like, you need to consent to give them all the data, and then they need to tell you in about 1,000 different ways how private this is.
Even if you go to the doctor's office, door is wide open.
Yeah.
And he's talking to you about your private matters.
Yeah.
While everybody in the hallway can hear what he's saying.
What seems to be
and I'm just like,
and you're like,
no, close the door.
And then, like, I mean, the worst thing is they'll, like, send you to different departments in the hospital. So, like, if you were like, if you're getting like a health check or something, or if you have a problem, you'll go to one department to do a couple of tests, and then they'll be like, oh, now you need to go to the 10th floor to do a different test. You go to the 10th floor, and you have to re-explain everything to the woman in public.
Is that not the case in the UK?
No, no. I mean, at least they should have communicated ahead of time that you are, like, going there for a certain purpose, right? But, like, you would, like, go there and be like, oh, what do you want? You'd, like, hand them some paper, and it's like, oh yeah, I need to, like, do this.
The other funny thing is that if you don't speak Thai, they just, like, tell you in Thai, and, like,
yeah.
Then you just go off, and you think, like, oh, maybe I should check with her again.
Yeah. So
this
like,
I don't think she'll be. I don't think she can answer my question. So
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a topic that nobody really will have thought about, right? This like health privacy thing. But it's like it's really a thing.
It's not a thing in Thailand.
No.
This way, I think, like, it's really, really different.
And people really openly talk about their health problems, like, really openly, like. Yeah,
I'm still uncomfortable about, like,
like, it's not like, so basically, let me give you a situation, like, in the West. Let's say that my friend, or even if, let's say maybe not my friend, but like a colleague at work says, oh, I've got to go to the hospital. Like, my response in the West is like, okay,
hope you get better.
Probably not even that.
Not even
just
that.
like, okay, all right, cool, yeah, like, see you in a bit, all right. Here, the response from a Thai person would probably be like, what's wrong with you?
Why you go hospital?
Yeah, like, or maybe from, like, a caring perspective as well.
But it's
like,
100% a caring perspective.
Like, what's the matter?
Where does it hurt?
Yeah, like, what's
Usually,
the matter?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't really want to tell you, right? But, like, and then they'd be like, oh, why don't you tell me? Like, you know.
Well, I think, okay, so from my perspective, Asian perspective, just say that, hey, like, I got a headache, I got something, this, I'm not feeling well. you just say that you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that, oh, like, I got a specific problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they 100% just like, just want to know.
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually weird, right? Because I think the Western perception of Thais is that they are not that direct. But actually, in these cases, they are incredibly direct, right?
I think that a lot of the Western thinking that Asians are inscrutable and Thai people are not direct is because they're dealing with strangers.
Yeah.
The thing is that, again, a lot of the Thai guys that I hang out with, we are way too personal.
Yeah.
We tell each other everything.
Yeah.
And again, not even things that I wouldn't expect that to even tell to my friends in Singapore.
Yeah.
They're like, they will tell you everything. They'll tell you like how many girlfriends they had, how young they were when they got dated, how many times they went to this place, and like how they meet them, and all the embarrassing things. They will talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, extremely frank. Extremely frank.
Yeah.
But I think the point, most important thing is that how do you get to that level?
Yeah.
So you need to be not just like I said, like.
So you can't just like go up to someone in the street and ask them like what health problems do you have today?
Well, in the case the nurse is supposed to ask you. That's her job. But really, all you really should have to say to the nurse is that it hurts here.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And not in the open setting.
Or you should have already really booked an appointment with the specific sort of like issue. I mean, that's how it would be in the UK, for example.
I guess you could do that here.
Like you would show up and they would know.
Well,
I guess you could do it here.
You could do it here.
Nobody does it.
But no, I tried it once.
Really?
And they said, just come to the front desk. You're like, all right.
And then they'll ask you again, what's the problem?
What's the problem?
It's like, I already booked an appointment.
I said like, hey, like I want to book an appointment with the doctor. They said, okay, just come to the front desk.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I want an appointment.
It's like drive-through walk-in only.
Yeah.
You know,
it's really like that. We're done. I think like it's a great talk for today.
Hopefully it's not too much garbage.
It's a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
That's the idea, is that it should be only garbage.
Yeah, I guess like that's the point of a podcast, right? Like, most of it is kind of garbage.
Hopefully we can do maybe a few more in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We'll try to kind of change things up around here.
Yeah.
If you liked it, please come back. Let us know if you liked it or not.
Yeah.
And
the purpose is to like show the side of Thailand that maybe other people are not showing.
Yeah.
So.
There are a lot of topics that I kind of want to discuss with you. I don't know if you are more into like I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I do watch like some of the YouTubers. So I really like some of the content as well.
I like a lot of it.
In certain cases.
It's trash though.
Yeah. I really like. Do you know the Chris guy, the retired working for you guy?
I don't like that.
You don't like it? I think his content's quite. Well, some of the content, I think it does show like a layer that you don't really get to see. But a lot of it is very sex touristy as well.
Yes, that's the thing. Anything that's kind of like sex touristy.
And we want to show the 99%, not that, like, which is like everybody thinks about that, but that's not what it is.
I guess on YouTube the issue is that a lot of content is really has to kind of go towards like, oh, everybody can kind of look into it.
Yeah.
And everybody would include everybody who's not been to Thailand.
Yeah. People
and
in
so
the US, people in Europe, people in Australia or whatever.
So a lot of YouTube content is around like, oh, if you want to rent, you can live in Thailand for 2,000
cost
USD.
of living. Yeah. Like how to get your visa.
Yeah.
And all of that crap that, to be honest, is like just it's kind of garbage, right? Like who cares? Right?
Well,
like,
the first place is that if you the most important thing is that it doesn't really matter.
No.
If you want to get a visa or not. You can. Yeah.
You can live here for 10,000 baht a month, or $1 million baht.
10 million baht a month.
Yeah. Like that's the beauty of Bangkok. There's so much variety. Anyway,
so like maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I think we need to have like a better structure, like to like have like clear discussion points. But yeah, if anybody has any ideas of like different topics that we can talk about, then we can integrate those too. We want to interview people.
Yeah, if you're in Thailand and you want to join us and kind of talk, let's meet up. I promise that we won't. I know we said like we're not gonna like meet people, but like yes, we would like to meet you as well.
We will also
so cool.
We will also have Thai people on the.
Oh yes,
pod.
I think definitely the goal is to get more Thai people in.
Yeah.
A lot of people from my side and JB's
100%.
side.
Like showing the actual, attitude of Thai people and asking them questions about foreigners as well. And I think that would be very interesting because I've never seen any content that actually is doing that.
It's really interesting because almost no content actually has
Thai
kind of like
people.
a Thai-driven perspective.
Yes. It's all like, what's it like as a foreigner to be here, which I guess we have talked about a little bit. Probably just in the purpose of getting some clickbait and like getting some initial views.
So the thumbnail is gonna be like a bunch of Thai girls.
But I mean, I would love to talk more about like what's it like for Thai people here, or like what's like local issues like the economy and like business here and politics and all this kind of stuff that like. It's a bit more engaging for people that really want to know about Thailand and don't just want to know how much this condo costs or how much I can buy a fucking pad thai in Thailand, right? Like, it's cheap, guys. Like, spoiler alert, like, it's not that expensive. You can also buy a pad thai that costs like 1,000 baht, probably.
Yes, I'm sure you can get a pad thai for 1,000 baht.
Pad thai is cheap, but it's subjective,
Anyway, so we'll leave it here.
Yeah, nice.
See you in a few weeks. Bye.
See you guys.